Hello, everyone. Welcome back to #HUEMatter, the podcast dedicated to discussing issues in the LGBTQIA plus community. Last episode, we discussed the mission of our podcast, #HUEMatter, and introduced our dear viewers to the data about the acceptance of the LGBTQIA plus community and the incidence of crimes in the country relating to homophobia and transphobia. So, without further ado, do you think we should introduce ourselves again?
Hi, I'm Rain.
Hello, I'm Ellie.
Hey everyone, my name is Cheesecake.
Hello, I'm Sky.
And coming back to you live is the lovely Aito. And I'm genuinely glad because today I get to lead the discussion. So, for our second episode, the group will discuss the issue of transphobia, a very serious issue not only in the Philippines, but in the world as well. We would like to warn the audience that the episode will discuss local transphobic crimes and other vile actions committed against the LGBTQIA plus community. Viewer discretion is advised. Feel free to skip this episode if you're not comfortable with the topics. Thank you, and without further ado, take it away, Sky!
So first, let's discuss the presence of transphobia in the Philippine society as it actually has a very deep roots in our culture and society.
Wait, so ideas like transphobia and hate towards the LGBT community are ingrained in our culture?
Yeah, that's true. Those kind of ideas date back to when the Spanish colonizers first set foot on the Philippines. While being in the LGBTQIA plus community is still a taboo topic in our society today, it was discovered that Filipinos in the pre-colonial period were found to have homosexual relations, indicating that it wasn't considered normal during that time.
Whoa,
That's
that's so
insane.
cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but how?
I'm glad you asked, Ellie. In 2014, the United Nations Development Program, or the UNDP, published a massive study about the presence of the LGBT in Asia countries, one of which included the Philippines. One of the findings that the study pointed out was the presence of gender non-conforming roles in society. One role was that of the babaylan, originally thought to be a role limited to women. Records show that there were many occasions wherein men became members of the babaylan, taking up the role of being spiritual and religious leaders, becoming the elites of the pre-colonial period.
Whoa, really?
Wow, gays are still the elite.
Cool.
Yes, let's go, gays! Yeah!
Amazing.
Men who practiced being babaylans were allowed to dress and act like women, being able to marry their fellow men and engage in sexual acts with them as well. They were also given many rights like the right to have a family, divorce their partners, and the right to have a home.
That's so cool. Like, I can't believe that babaylans could be men as well. They must have been recognized as important members of society.
Yeah, when the Spanish colonizers came to the Philippines, they brought with them the ideas of Christianity, which were unfamiliar to the Filipinos that time. Seeing as the Catholic Church saw homosexuality as being deviant and sinful, they instilled the ideas to the Filipinos, going as far to murder homosexuals, spark fear in the minds of people, discouraging them from expressing any ounce of homosexuality. These imperialist ideas divided the Filipinos on some point of some of which became homophobic and transphobic. Some Filipinos tried to form alliances with Spaniards for protection against persecution, influencing their ideologies. This led to majority of Philippine history remaining silent on those who failed to follow the normalized gender roles.
Wow.
Grabe, and we can
Dyan
still see
pala
the effects of that on, like today, right?
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
way I rolled my eyes when I heard colonizer.
true.
I mean, like, even though that's our past, di ba, na, weren't there like certain measures to try and combat homophobia, transphobia, all of the things that were for foreign to us then but are normalized now? Like, in the 90s, weren't there different orgs and societies specifically for LGBTQ that began popping up everywhere?
Yeah, actually, that's right. So many of the modern like LGBTQA plus rights organizations we're familiar with right now, like UP Babaylan, Pro Gay Philippines, and the Metropolitan Community Church or the MCC, were created in the 90s, like you said, Aito. And a little bit of a trivia, Pro-Gay Philippines was actually the first to arrange not just the first Pride March in the Philippines, but the first one in all of Asia.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
That
Nice.
progressiveness.
Pride. Yeah.
I mean, as they should, like,
Yeah.
We
So
stand the rainbow here.
So like the march was actually backed up by the MCC. So it kind of like showed like a solidarity and possible like socio-economic and civic participation of the community. This sparked like a lot of public conversation about like the necessity for like protection against transphobic and homophobic like crimes, and it also like raised awareness about misconceptions about the community and even the injustices towards the community. So there's like a lot of conversation going on because of the wave of these organizations in the 90s.
Yeah, like at
That's
least they
nice.
got
That's
things
really
rolling.
good.
Ginalaw
Yeah.
nila yung baso.
Yeah.
for real.
And so, one major contention seen during this period was the discontent of the LGBT lobbyist group, the Lesbian and Gay Legislative Advocacy Network Philippines, or in short, the GABLAB, over the then proposed Lesbian and Gay Rights Act of 1999. This led to the filing of the Anti-Discrimination Bill of 2000 by the late Miriam Defensor Santiago in the Senate and by Loretta Ann P. Rosales in the House of Representatives in collaboration with the GABLAB. So the bill was not passed, but it is the framework for the now SOGI bill.
Wow.
Oh wow, that's the origin story pala. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
And-
same.
And to think that
Yeah.
2 decades later, hindi pa rin gumalaw yung baso on that bill. Like, this is insane just to see all of the historical, cultural, and social backgrounds of plagued our society. And I'm sure that hearing all of this would have enlightened and should have taught something to our listeners tonight. Don't you think, guys?
Yeah, it certainly taught me something.
Yeah, same.
Diba?
I'm sure they have been very enlightened, no?
Yeah.
And
True.
hopefully they have gained a new perspective as to why these issues are very concerning in the modern world, including why they have to be addressed.
And right you are there, Sky. There are things that must be addressed. And speaking of things that have to be addressed, to be more serious, I must, in good faith, address the viewers about our upcoming discussion. Because it will include mentions of murder, mutilation, and other graphic descriptions of these crimes. And if you, dear viewers, are uncomfortable with those topics, you may stop at this point, and we'll see you in our episode. Because we want all our audience to be comfortable, so please don't feel bad for tuning out if you think that you will be sensitive or be triggered by what we're going to discuss. We love you all and we value your mental health utmost. So, now that that's settled and we've shared our fair warning to the viewers, let's first lay down some facts. Because crimes against the LGBTQIA plus community are actually underreported in the country. More so than many of our viewers might think. Because in 2008, the Trans Murder Monitoring Project, or the TMM, launched an interactive Google map which illustrates the number of these crimes related to the LGBTQIA around the world. 1,509 of which have been reported between 2008 and 2014. However, what's more chilling is that this number could be higher.
Wow.
The few cases that were reported were actually very few, considering how silent Filipinos have been towards speaking out about injustices or crimes towards the LGBTQIA plus community. That number could very well be higher.
Wow, it just baffles me that individuals are killed just because they dress, act, or express themselves in a non-traditional way.
That's
Uh,
sick.
yeah. I can recall the case of Jennifer Laude back in 2014. Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
still
it was
deeply ingrained.
huge. Yeah.
Was
Very
honestly grabe.
super.
Yeah, like for our audience who might not know, Jennifer Laude is a trans woman who was murdered 7 years ago in 2014. Can't believe it's been 7 years. She was found dead and naked on the floor of a comfort room in Celso Lodge. It's a motel in Olongapo in Pampanga. So, according to Rappler, police reported injuries on her neck. What happened was Laude was actually last seen with the suspect, U.S. Marine Joseph Pemberton, at the motel near Ambiance? I think Ambiance nightlife bar in Pampanga. And it was actually later proven that Pemberton actually murdered Laudex, and he cited deception as his motivation for the crime. Can you believe that?
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Deception.
oh my god.
yeah, so
Okay,
no,
What?
what went down kasi was the two were about to have intercourse in the motel, but then Pemberton noticed that Laude did not have a vagina, and Pemberton, being close-minded, he believed that he was fooled by a man, and that's why he murdered Laude. Pemberton said that he felt like he was being raped and deceived by a man, which is a very chilling and transphobic belief because obviously Jennifer is a woman. So
Yeah. That's
I
really
am just beyond grossed out right now.
Honestly.
Yeah, so that's quite chilling to say the least. The presence of a homophobic attitude which clearly motivated the crime is unforgivable. It really reflects how our society truly views these kinds of incidents.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, because it drew out a lot of mixed reactions from people. Like some were blaming Laude, saying that
Yeah.
Laude deserved it. Parang like, "Hindi siya
Yeah, but
gumawa.
that's
He deserved to
victim
die."
blaming.
I think that's too
Conservative
close-minded.
view. That's such a
Yeah.
conservative thought process. Like what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Jennifer's death is not an isolated case. Another trans woman was murdered recently. What was her name? Jessie Remiendo. You know her, Sky. You know
Yeah.
her.
Yes, I know her. It's her. In 2019, another horrendous murder occurred in Pangasinan wherein Jess Armando was brutally hacked to death and left on a beach, steeped and bloodied with her neck almost cut through. Can you believe that, guys?
Oh. Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
gosh.
Grabe.
Sino yung gagawa
Parang like
nun?
out of words.
Diba? Tapos, ito pa. According to the reports, she was last seen drinking with a co-worker and her sister pa before going out to get cigarettes. But she never returned. Her death marked the first violent murder and crime against the transgender community in the province of Pangasinan, which was known to have a well-grounded and widely accepted community.
Wait,
Wow,
but did they find out who killed her?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
What?
Pero I'm
Oh,
sure that they had a widely accepted community or well-grounded and well-respected community, but was there an ordinance protecting that community?
I think
I
wala.
think wala.
Yeah, it's
Wala?
not that it's just a very accepting community, and it's
Yeah,
not
like-
something that you would expect out of the blue in, of course, a
Oh
very
wow.
accepting community, right?
It had to be an outsider if it's like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
sobrang dangerous talaga.
I mean,
Walang-
honestly,
Yeah.
dear viewers, I think these incidents would clearly show just how big of an issue transphobia and homophobia is for the community. Imagine all of the cases we don't even know about, the cases that haven't been told to the police with these sorts of knowledges in mind, like the history of being transphobic and homophobic, the culture around these negative ideas, and the, suffice it to say, horrendous cases of transphobic crimes.
What can you guys say are the things that can and should be done more to try and mitigate the spread of these crimes in general? Like thoughts niyo?
Okay. For me, enforcing laws like the ordinances and the Soji bill, like having these laws that would protect the community could be a turning point. But of course, as we know, laws cannot really stop these horrendous things from happening, right? So we all know that murder is wrong, but no matter who the victim is, what their sexuality or sexual orientation is, but it still happened, just as we discussed. So I think what we really need is a change in mindset. We
Yeah,
all need
I
to
agree.
True,
yeah,
true.
like learn to respect one another and know that violence or hate or anything like that is not, it's never a good thing. What can that bring?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Because like violence isn't an answer anything, diba?
Yeah, but I mean, we got to say that these kinds of crimes, it also sheds light into how big of an issue this is, right?
That's true, and
But
well,
of course, it's not a good thing.
yeah, it's not a good thing. Pero what do the others think about this? Ellie?
I actually agree with Rain's point, and in a way, actually, like these laws can actually encourage a change in mindset, because if because it's better than nothing. That's just what I want to say. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like, if
true.
there's like, yeah, if you penalize this, people would think twice. Like we all know that
I agree
we all
also.
know that murder is wrong. We all know that murder is wrong, but we still have a law because that'll make people think twice before murdering someone pa rin.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
consequence.
And if people have
Hmm.
if people can see a clear like consequence, then they'll probably figure out, like, they'll think to themselves, it's wrong. Why kaya?
Yeah,
And
Then
that's
you
yun.
true.
should that they shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like similarly, I think that in order to like mitigate the spread of crimes, we also need to like support more like researchers, like who do research in this field, and like do research on the topic of like crimes and LGBT, because we also need to encourage like the LGUs who implement anti-discrimination ordinances to make their data accessible if possible, because it's one thing to say that transphobia is a problem. It's one thing to say that murder is wrong, but people need to see the data themselves. It's so much
Yeah.
scarier. It's so much scarier when you say every 5 seconds a gay person is murdered, kesa saying na gay people die every day. Like
Yeah,
when you scale it like that, like more, I feel like more like I feel like we can drive initiatives like the
change.
Soji bill like forward, because more
Yeah.
people will understand that the problem is really big.
Yeah,
So ayun, I
that's
think
a really
showing
good
statistical proof is
point.
I think
yeah.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
very true. Because at least these laws provide some sort of framework, diba? For us to
Yeah, exactly.
have a conversation. Like, but for me, personally, I think that laws are only part of the solution, because transphobia, homophobia, and these crimes in general is a systemic problem. Because laws do not be able to handle everything. Sure, they penalize the ones who are committing crimes. Another important thing to consider to the root of the problem, which is education, diba? Because let's be honest, most of our culture is being educated to us, and our beliefs are being taught to us, influenced by the things that are taught to us and what we teach to succeeding generations.
Yeah.
Like, if we allow thoughts like homophobia, transphobia, and hate to prevail, instead, these crimes will not stop at all. Like I said, the next generation will adopt these thoughts if we don't mitigate it now. And frankly enough, teaching the youth to learn to be accepting, loving, and open to anyone, all people, and consequently, the members of the LGBTQIA plus community should be another goal of mitigating the issue other than creating laws. Don't you all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's really easier said than done.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's very
There's-
true.
There's so much factors that go into it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's a subjective thing, like love and respect. Like some
Yeah.
people, like we could teach someone to respect, but then some people be like, respect that person, but not that person.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
true.
really
Very true.
complicated,
It's
right?
hard to point one single solution out. It's hard to single out. Kaya let's ask
What-
someone else pa, like, what about you, Cheesecake? What's your take on this topic?
Honestly, like, agree ako sa lahat ng points nyo. But for me, it's like, Soji Bill can be like that big factor, and help in combating these actions to protect talaga the community, and like making sure that it is properly implemented to the city or country. Kasi like, something minsan parang show off lang siya, like hindi talaga nakikita na may consequence, kaya ginagawa pa rin nila, because hate crime and crime itself is so wrong talaga, and we should teach people, like make people aware and inform about the community, so that people can change their perspective and mindset into better ones. Diba? Like,
Yeah,
kasi
that's
mahirap
true.
mahirap
I
din kapag
agree.
wala talagang nangyayari.
There has to be a
Mm.
follow through talaga.
Yeah, like something to at least make sure that these things are actually working, di ba?
And that crimes are actually like going down or stopping,
Yeah, so we really need those reports and that transparency rin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
a system to monitor all of these crimes. Kasi like mentioned earlier, not every single crime against the community is reported to the police.
Exactly.
Dun pa lang like it's so so
Yeah.
talaga.
Oh, true.
It's also a cultural thing, not reporting.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
there's so many layers talaga.
Yeah, it's hard to process which part to focus first. But before this gets any longer, Sky, what about you? What's your take on this hot topic?
Actually, parang lahat nasabi niyo na. So, I feel like awareness, acceptance, and respect must always be present to avoid these crimes. Also, yung sinabi nga ni Ellie kanina, yung stricter implementation of ordinances would be a better way to eradicate these crimes.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks for the support.
Yeah, I think we
And-
all have the same view naman on this issue, that there's so much
True.
things that go into it. There's not
Yeah.
a solution, and
Yeah.
you can't really just have one thing and then boom, wala na, it's solved.
Yeah, mahirap, like it's so hard.
Oh, and it's
Yeah.
it's in a resounding like this is wrong and something has to be done about it sort of vibe when we talk about this issue, diba?
Yeah.
I think what matters is that we're trying. Like, we just need to take it one step at a time, do what we can with what we have.
Yeah, like our
Yeah.
podcast, we're raising awareness about these issues. Kaya ayun, self-promo lang.
Yeah, and small things matter also. It's not, but of course we still need these, like the government, to do some action, and because they're really the ones who run the country.
I
diba?
agree. Yeah, I agree. And people like us who raise awareness topic are doing a big help in making sure that the public knows about this. And I am very glad that we are able to talk about these histories, this knowledge, this
Mhm.
awareness to our dear viewers. Don't you all agree?
Yes.
Yeah. It's always
Yeah,
nice to
yeah.
I
talk.
agree.
Yeah,
It's-
and we're
To inform them.
we're making such a big difference, and you all can make a difference by tuning in. And thank you all for those who tuned into this episode, and we hope to see you again on our Facebook page and our official YouTube channel. And if you have time, please like and share to be able to spread the word that #HUEMatter. So thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
tuned. Bye.